Hey everybody. It's been a long time since I last posted. I'm sorry for the extended absence, and thanks for all of you who are still hanging around. So, where have I been and why did I go silent? Well, I have to tell you that it was a rough winter for me and my family. In December, we got COVID along with everyone else in Beijing, but far more distressing than that was the incalculable loss that we suffered in the new year. In late December, my father fell suddenly ill and was admitted to hospital. I rushed back to Canada to be with him, and my wife and daughter followed soon after. After struggling for a month, my father finally succumbed to his illness and passed away in late January. My father and I were very close. Dad was a cheerleader for me and for all of his children. He was warm and loving, and he was supportive. He was a constant presence in my life and the lives of my siblings and his grandchildren and of course my mother. His loss is a significant one for all of us. Grief is not a popular topic, and it's definitely not clickbait. But unfortunately, it is something that everyone will experience at some point in their lives. And I have learned that it can come into your life when you least expect it. And so I just want to share something of my experience. I don't offer any guidance or advice. I just want to share what it's been like for me in the hopes that someone watching finds something of use in it. So first off, grief doesn't happen all at once or in straight lines. Even now, months on from Dad's passing, I still feel the loss. Not all the time, but it bubbles to the surface every now and again. Much is made of the stages of grief, but none of that pop psychology wisdom has fit with my experience. Grief for me has been more of a minefield. No matter how carefully I try to navigate my days, grief has a way of popping up when I least expect it. Next, grief for me has been a lonely experience. Despite being surrounded by family and friends, my grief has felt all my own. It's a struggle because I'm not a particular emotive person, and so the intensity of the many complicated feelings has often caught me completely off guard. At the same time, while my grief has been lonely, it's also been a shared experience. As a brother, son, father, and husband, I have to face my own grief, but also the grief of the people that I love the most in the world. And watching the people closest to you suffer with grief is a whole other heartache. Telling my daughter that her grandfather was gone was the hardest thing that I've ever had to do as a father. Parenting through grief is a tough balance to strike. I know it's important to acknowledge my daughter's feelings of grief and loss, but at the same time, I have to show through words and actions that life goes on. We can be sad, we can be in pain, but we have lives to live and people who depend on us. My father's loss was a shock. He was healthy and vibrant, and we should have had many more years together. I feel robbed of time. The 3 long years that the pandemic kept us apart, and the years ahead that we could have had if he hadn't been taken from us. So along with grief, there's anger and there's regret. But in the end, I try to steer myself toward gratitude for the relationship with my father. I know so many people who have distant, angry, or absent fathers, and so many children grow up without a father in their lives at all. So in a strange way, this process of grieving is a gift. It's an acknowledgement deep inside my being that my father meant something to me and to the people around him. His love and care meant something to me and to so many others. When I spoke at his funeral, I talked about how my father provided gravity to a system of people and relationships. I'm forever grateful for that gravity and the warmth, love, and guidance that my father provided. Grieving is awful. I'm not sure when it ends. I'm not even sure if it does end entirely. But I've learned there's no way around it or real protection from it. Not for me anyway. I hope that all who are grieving find sources of comfort in family, friends, or faith. Thanks for listening, and I hope that this might help someone who might be struggling and who needs to hear it. And I'll see you all again soon.